And it is this fifth day of August in the year 2016. Kyle Reardon is with me. I'm Alex Ansary. We're asking the question, are Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin, are these individuals associates? And one could say that they are if their agenda is to bring forth a global government that is birthed out of the ashes of the World War. And that's kind of where I'm coming from. But before we get there, Kyle, your opening thoughts.
Well, Alex, anybody who tries to get on the good side of Vladimir Putin is probably a scumbag. You know, it was interesting on an interview that I had a couple months back, I was asked if I support Vladimir Putin because I'm as one commentator put it, I'm a, quote, unapologetically libertarian. And, I mean, that's true. But unfortunately, as that one Ukrainian libertarian mentioned, there is such a thing as libertarians for Putin or Putin's libertarians that basically, of course, refers to the 2014 Ukrainian Revolution and pretty much how Ron Paul threw those people under the bus for no good reason.
And we could see RT's infiltration, the alternative media, the Alex Jones Association, and the RT changing their narrative to appeasing to conspiracy researchers, to even throwing them under the bus.
Yes.
And having anti-gun ads or stories. In reality, pushing world government, just not a world government controlled by DC, but still pushing a world government, still pushing Russian propaganda. And I've been talking about this for years. So it's really interesting. Not surprising at all. It's actually something that I've suspected for a long time. In fact, I think that there's a Russian influence behind InfoWars even. I've been on record saying that and posting about that on Facebook since at least 2011, 2012. A very unpopular position to take. Absolutely. You know, a lot of people just think it's the CIA or Israel, and Russia's really gotten a free pass. So what we could see now, we'll reference a few headlines, we'll go back and forth. Putin is for Trump. And people go, yay, that's good. That means they plan on cooperation. It's really just a lot of assumptuous behavior. Wouldn't you say, Kyle? It's like, oh, yeah, Putin's for Trump. This is obviously a good thing, just automatically. Just, yeah. Just
that makes no sense, though. I mean, look, and I hope the audience really marks my words here. Unless you are physically there with the other so-called world leaders when they make their backdoor deals and, you know, grease each other's palms, unless you're actually there and preferably documenting it, you know, audio, video, so the rest of us can know what the backdoor doors, you know, are, and thus they won't be, you know, backdoor deals. Unless that's actually happening, then really all that's occurring really is a lot of speculation and conjecture in terms of what, as you were saying, Alex, making an ass out of you and me, assuming that these two guys are going to bring about world peace or something like they're contestants off a beauty pageant. I mean, this is ridiculous. So right. Yes, unless people are going to either be eyewitnesses or preferably document these backdoor deals, really none of us actually know anything until such time they decide to come out in front, have a joint press conference, and they say, we, the so-called world leaders, have decided this is how we're going to screw all of you this week. And then, of course, you know, obviously you can either take them at their word or not. But yes, I know what you're getting at, Alex. This presumption that somehow the warmongering Trump and the dictatorial Putin will somehow be beacons of liberty is a farce at best.
Now, I'm going to reference some headlines, and I'm going to tell the audience, I want you to be able to pull up these headlines and find them. So if you go to amtvmedia.com, go to category news, look at page 1 and 2, and there's a number of things I'm going to reference that I've posted just recently, at least from the time of this podcast. Otherwise, you're just going to have to search by title, and you should be able to find it on the web. Also, type in Putin and Trump, whether in the AMTV search bar or just simply into Google. But before I get started, Kyle, I got to tell you this is a pinch myself moment, because I have called out each of these individuals as servants of this new world order, as collaborators. And here we see this being brought out into the public, into the meme. And we see the Alex Jones Putin Association, even though that's not very public, but he said very positive things about Putin, and we know that Putin, has put Alex Jones on his network, RT. I mean, that was not by accident. They're associates on some level, and then people that go in between, I'm sure, on some level. And now we see the Alex Jones. Hope I'm not making anybody dizzy with this. It's like I'm doing it. It's not like I'm doing an FBI chart of the mafia, folks. And we see the Alex Jones, Donald Trump association over here. See, it's not very difficult to see something's coordinating this. Of course, they want to act like Hillary is outside this, and that's not our position, nor are we for Hillary. There's something deeper with the Clinton, Putin and Clinton Trump connection. Perhaps we'll talk more about that into the podcast, but let me just say this. This is on amtvmedia.com. I just posted this recently and came from Sputnik News, which is Russian propaganda. Everything you're going to see from Sputnik News, it doesn't mean it's not worth posting, but this is Russian propaganda. Here's what China has with regards to their military. Here's what Russia has with regards to their military. Here's the crimes of the United States. You tell me what the solution is. It is straight up pre-World War III propaganda. That's why I watch RT and Sputniks very closely, their news feed. All right, here's the headline, folks. Get ready. I mean, get real with what's coming. After everything Kyle and I have already talked about with Donald Trump and the potential of this upcoming genocide and wars in the Middle East, Trump hopes Russia will help the United States crush ISIS. And this right now is the narrative being built worldwide. That on one hand, Trump is better for Russia because he is supposedly doesn't have the same foreign policy as Obama or Bush. But then he's speaking about fighting the barbarians and ISIS. And then you have really a coordination right now under the Obama administration with Russian jets and U.S. jets. The U.S. jets and Russian jets are collaborating and working together because they are fighting a common enemy. Even though we read reports about, United States and Russia might go to war in Syria over they are cooperating on multiple levels. And I'll just pause there. And so, they've got everybody just distracted with who the president is. It's just really ridiculous. When the very Middle Eastern policies are the same, and instead of Russia actually, pushing the United States back, it's like, how do we work together in this? Meanwhile, the world is applauding the reports of the Russian strikes on ISIS, which apparently are regular. They have spats where it's like boom, 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 and then quiet. And the people on the alternative media, the people on the web are literally like having like a brain orgasm. They're like, yes, Putin is getting ISIS, and they're literally coming in their mind. I'm not trying to get graphic, but it's like I have to go there with the absurdity of where people are going with, yes, they're actually like cheering on a world leader supposedly bombing terrorists. So, we look at the future of America and the way that Americans are being demonized. This whole thing is creepy. And even this propaganda to support a leader, a foreign leader, that is using airstrikes on those that are called terrorists. You would think that alone would wake people up. There's something very foul about, the very plot itself.
Well, Operation Cyclone much? Those who fail to learn from history really and truly are doomed to repeat it. The lack of comprehending that ISIS might as well be Al-Qaeda because it is Al-Qaeda. But then at the same time, if you go back further, great documentary from years back called The Power of Nightmares, Al-Qaeda doesn't exist because, well, the neoconservatives completely lied out of their ass about it. So even if you trace back going to the 80s and then through the Bush years, and then obviously in the past couple of years, especially with the onset of the Syrian civil war between Bashar al-Assad's government and the not-so-moderate Syrian rebels who are not just associated with al-Qaeda, but who in fact are al-Qaeda. But then that turned into ISIS, and basically it's kind of like one big lineage of pretty much roughly the same people who are, let's be perfectly honest, traceable back to being disgruntled ex-employees of the United States federal government vis-a-vis being the Mujahideen and such. where they're all working hand in glove and, pay us money to use rocket launchers and the rest of it. So, I mean, until people really understand controlled opposition, Alex, then I don't think in a lot of ways they're going to really understand
This is like
future conflicts.
Right, this is like some fantasy football stuff here. I
Yeah.
mean, if you type in Trump and Putin into AMTV Media, you'll get what I've posted there. I'll read off a few. Putin says Russia would welcome a Trump presidency. That's June 17, 2016. Here we have from December 2015, on the 17th. Putin says Trump is absolute leader in U.S. presidential race. And it's like the celebrity, like fantasy football thing for these people, or like the dudes that people are looking up to. It's like a match made in heaven to them. It's really a match made in hell. But to them, it's a match made in heaven. Here's one from August 4th, 2015. Will Trump make a deal with Putin? And though there were those things that have been put out there, and there's more and more. Oh, and then Trump plays the other card as well. Trump slams Obama as weak on Russia. And I think that's very significant as well to point out that Trump has put out some tough rhetoric with response to Russia. He even said, as the president, he may have to shoot down those Russian jets in response to one of the recent skirmishes, which are becoming all too common as these territorial disputes by design expand and blow up in different parts of the world. So we, of course, common sense dictates people at different levels of the military were compartmentalized. There's going to be some skirmishes that are absolutely accidental because of the closeness and proximity and the stupid drills that are going on. So, on one hand, Trump says stuff like, well, we may not be able to back up NATO, but we're gonna go ahead and maybe shoot down some Russian jets. Yeah. And I mean, it's just a bunch of really crazy, nonsensical. He talked about tactically incompetent with regards to Strickland.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this guy's a military incompetent military leader. I mean, this whole suicide pact nonsense as far as...
Well, it's interesting. It's interesting you mentioned that because I've in private conversations I've had with various veterans over the years out of the different branches of these so-called armed forces. There's a reason I turned anti-war back during my college years. And it was in a lot of ways from what these different veterans kind of told me. And some of them were still pro-military, but a lot of them became anti-war in one flavor or another after they got out for various reasons. But yeah, one thing that the veterans kept telling me, Alex, was how bureaucratic their superiors were, and it wasn't just the so-called officer class. Even a lot of the NCOs, for those who don't know, non-commissioned officers, basically the enlisted men who went up the ranks and became their own version of an officer, and that's non-commissioned as opposed to commissioned officers who some people say have had a silver spoon up their ass. It's Jesus. I don't know how to say this, man. It's just people really don't appreciate how bad the military-industrial complex is that President Eisenhower warned the American citizenry about decades ago. And now, all this time later, a lot of these soldiers, these guys running around wearing green costumes who think they're all that, well, to be perfectly fair, yes, some of them are really effective killing machines who are psychopathically motivated. On the other hand, there's also a lot of control-freak bureaucrats who like to play pretend that they're soldiers, but really are very comfortable sitting in their air-conditioned rooms complaining whenever the email goes out. And yes, sometimes that's attributed to the U.S. Air Force, but by no means is limited to them. So yeah, tactically incompetent. I would also say strategically incompetent too. I mean, think about it. The United States military has been used as the policeman of the world. And I remember when Ron Paul was mentioning about that the United States military has think about that, folks, permanent military bases well in excess throughout 140 different countries worldwide. Now, I don't know about you, Alex, that sounds like a New World Order to me, or perhaps a reemergence of the British Empire, upon which the sun never set.
And people believe the narrative that Russia is opposed to that very empire where the United States and NATO have so many of their forces in so many parts of the world. Of course, what we've seen since 9/11 is Russia do really nothing to expose the truth about that, but they're using whatever they can, and they're allowed to. There's really not a whole lot stopping them. And China is as well from gaining their popularity worldwide simply because of the crimes and actions of the United States. It's another anybody but Bush got us Obama. Anybody but Obama, leads to what Donald Trump. Anybody but the United States leads to a new world order, not at least not on the surface, run by the United States. It could be another new world order, as long as it's not the Rothschilds, as long as we don't believe the Rothschilds, rather Rockefellers. There's still some of these ties. I want to mention a couple other headlines. Of course, people could just also look these up as well. Yes, so I wanted to mention, now that people are waking up to this, at least any thinking person, they're going, Clinton campaign, dun 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 dun, the Clinton campaign propagates Trump-Putin conspiracy theory. Oh my God. Facepalm. Okay, so yes, the propagandists that are working to hijack consciousness, they want people to think this is a Clinton talking point. I mean, this is obvious. There's obviously something going on. And by the way, I speculate it'll start positively. There'll be like, wine and dine and parties and TV shows, and Russia's image will be built up with the Trump, can't stop the Trump. I mean, it's sad. It's like people have, I mean, even that chant is like, I don't know, not very far away from a monkey making sounds. Can't stop the Trump. InfoWars.
Well, I like my version, which is, oh yeah, you guys are humping the Trump. Oh yeah, baby. I mean, it's really about that bad. Like they're like tiny. You know what the Trump supporters really remind me of? It's like they're tiny chihuahuas, and they're humping the Trump. I mean, I'm sorry, I don't intend to be mean here.
Portland has a fair amount of feminized men. Watch those Trump supporters being like surrounded by the hyena communist Portlanders. You had some small fish being surrounded by a mob. That was that was something that they chose to do. I don't believe that anyone should have their free speech shut down, and I understand why it's newsworthy and covering, but it's like there are some special children that have been welcomed into the Trump campaign, like special children, like, difficulty, like making decisions. I'm not trying to be mean to all Trump supporters, but there is some level of cognitive impairment in some of these children that are running around wearing these hats that literally in this day and age, I mean, have they not seen the videos? There are people hunting for Trump supporters. It's like they've been set up. And we've brought this up before, and I'll even say it as far as they're setting up the whole United States and the American people. That they could show the world, look at all these people supporting Donald Trump, and then look at what Donald Trump does. Look at the country that Donald Trump nuked, and then look at these American people supporting him. It'd be like, video footage, they hate us for our freedoms, which is a real actual ad where they're showing the Middle Eastern people saying, if you don't vote, the terrorists win.
Wow.
I know you saw that ad, didn't
you? It's like, okay, just full disclosure for the audience. I mentioned this in a previous podcast, but I am an ex-voter. I have executed the legal remedy of canceling my voter registration in Texas, and I put up the paperwork up on my blog. So really, I have no vested interest in terms of voting or supporting or endorsing candidates, but that doesn't mean I am not allowed to talk about politics or in the sense of really just kind of finger-pointing all these tyrants for what they are. But yeah, I love that slogan in that ad, Alex, about the terrorists win. It's like, well, geez, so let me get this straight. If I revoke my consent to be governed to the extent that the state will allow me to, that means I'm somehow aiding and abetting terrorism? What kind of stupid non sequitur fallacy is that?
It was a threat. They were threatening to put the non-voters on a list.
Well, actually, geez, I guess I'm definitely on a list because I went one step beyond just not showing up to the polls, and I actually executed a legal remedy where my legal status is noticeably different. So yeah, I mean, whether it's a former voter, ex-voter, like I'm it. And obviously, the anti-libertarian Libertarian Party doesn't like me very much. Again, different subject for another time. But regarding that ad you're mentioning, if you don't vote, the terrorists win. I love the fear-mongering in something like that. The notion that you're with us or you're with the terrorists. Oh, wait, didn't George W. Bush say that quite a bit? I remember somebody saying that back during the 2000s. You know, this false dichotomy of well, I mean, look at the left-right paradigm itself. It's a false dichotomy, right? The Hillary supporters versus the Donald Trump supporters. I mean, think about this, folks. Every single election cycle in recent memory, even if you were to go all the way back to 2000. Ooh, remember the 2000 Florida recount? I do. But if you go back that far or farther, each of these different matchups of these different individuals playing their archetypal roles, where they like to imagine themselves, where they falsely imagine themselves to be your rulers, or archons, I guess you could say, because that's what the Greek word, the root of it means. Archos meant ruler or public magistrate. But yeah, it's just, I mean, these guys are psychos, man, and I really wish people would stop. Look, Etienne de la Boétie, who was a Frenchman many centuries back, he mentioned that, look, all you have to do is stop supporting this system, and the colossus will fall of its own weight and break into 1,000 pieces. You know, the only reason the state government profits vertically from tyranny is because too many people among the population actually support it. The only way the state profits vertically is because of serf-on-serf harassment. I mean, think about this. I mean, I don't want to get too philosophical here, but think about this. Ask yourself, and this is a great exercise even for the audience. Ask yourselves, how many times have you been directly attacked by the state? How many times have you been arrested? Your houses and cars have been raided, been prosecuted in a court of non-law, I guess you could say? How many times have you been directly attacked by the state and harassed by the police versus how many times you have been ridiculed, mocked, ostracized from friends, family, coworkers who simply disagreed with you because they were in this la-la land of supporting these false narratives that the establishment likes to propagate about itself. It is I would posit, it is simply a numbers game, Alex. The state or government Leviathan really is horizontal. And so when people support Trump, they support Putin, and nobody is putting a gun to their head. Think about that too. They're voluntarily doing all of this because of the propaganda, because of the emotional assurance that these strong men offer them with their swagger and their hair, and like Donald Trump does, where he purses his lips and sticks his thumbs out.
They were first looking at Putin before they were looking at Trump. They were first salivating over Putin and his shirtless body, doing judo and wrestling bears and whatnot in the friggin' wilderness before this fool Trump came onto the scene. So Putin has played a huge role in the popularity of Trump. These names are just really weird, by the way. On top of it, Putin, Trump, I don't know. But Putin's played a big role in driving the American Vox Populi. Kind of ironic how Russian intelligence, Russian media has been driving talking points in the American alternative media. It's just kind of coincidental. So Putin is playing a role in this, acting like, oh, I didn't know or rather Trump would do this. Later on, for example, speculating, that starts out nice between them. We're going to go after ISIS, and then they're going to butt heads, and it's going to blow into something else. Or Hillary will come in, and then they'll really be able to get on their World War III if it's going to mirror anything like the Simpsons episode. Although I don't want to speculate too much along those lines. I really try not to. But it's been referenced many times as a TV show. where allegedly there's a amount of predictive programming with regards to 9/11 and perhaps some other things. So in their episode featuring Donald Trump is there for a short period in time, and then Hillary, played by Lisa, becomes the interim president or the person that replaces Trump after some assassination or something, if I have the plot correct. So, I did take note of that. It is possible that, and I do think they're working together. I mean, how are these people able to show how Hillary is even really attacking Donald Trump? I mean, I think they've made it an open joke, if you ask me, that they're in cahoots. Because, I mean, everything that Trump is, I mean, you're not even talking issues anymore. You're just like, Hillary less, Hillary for president, what the hell? It's like a joke. It's like a caricature. It's like something from, I guess people reference House of Cards, which I haven't seen, but apparently House of Cards is a Netflix show about fake politics in DC. And so I guess it's like watching House of Cards. It's watching something fake, but people are acting like it's real. This is really real. And I know Alex Jones knows better. That man knows better. That man is like sold his soul to Satan or something, if that's even possible. If that's possible. If people are really selling their soul to archons or aliens or whatever, and being promised the promised land with maybe their own version of 72 versions of and underground shelter and protection and off-world base for their clone hookers. Who knows what they promised Alex, but obviously he's sold out to some kind of evil. No awakened man or woman could sit around and just promote the bullshit from Donald Trump. It's a travesty. We talked in other podcasts about the alternative media like flipping on its head and then falling down and cracking something inside, going from awakening people to false flag terror, people being demonized, they have more wars in the Middle East, to promoting the actual rhetoric that can get people beat up in the streets. That could result in a Vox Populi movement to, yes, let's bomb this country, let's invade that country.
Mm-hmm.
What country will it be? And I've already been in Afghanistan and caused a lot of disturbance. They still are in Iraq and other countries. What will be the next country? Is it going to be like Iran? Like people have predicted for years? Even Alex Jones warned about. Well, he doesn't talk about that anymore. See, I think the Iranians, they become the enemy, and then the things soften a little bit for a few years. They become the enemy again. Could be Iran. Could be another. If it is Iran, you better believe Russia and China are going to respond because of the level of economic cooperative deals they've made since 9/11 with the nation of Iran. So anything involving Iran and other countries is going to bring in automatically, like without like hesitation, China and Russia. So it's like, yeah, they've just conditioned Americans. Just go for it. Let it ride. It's a fucking casino. Who cares if you might die in the hole? Just completely bet the whole house on it, even though the casino has the odds rigged against you. This war is being engineered by forces that people don't understand. And people want to argue about, no, we're going to be the ultimate military forever. And they just show them over the years, no, actually, you're vulnerable to an EMP attack. It's been that way for years. It just hasn't happened yet. And then all of a sudden, in slow motion, like a bad horror film, North Korea develops new long-range missile capable of. And it's like, yeah, one country can get in, break down the defenses, and the rest can pull in. It's like we're being already shown, hey, this is possible. You could easily get bitch slapped down to nothing, and then gang raped into the fucking dirt. And what are you going to do about it? But then, no, on the other hand, people are going, no, let's become completely hysterical with regards to a false Islamic invasion and not actually look at what's happening militarily with all this stuff and these war game drills. Let's just go ape shit and just pretend as if it's true that all of our neighborhoods are being invaded by the Muslims. And just so many people commenting on my videos that obviously are new viewers and just commenting on things that are suggested in the YouTube AdSense. I mean, the YouTube news feed.
Yeah.
They'll get on someone for being a jerk in the comment section, and it's like, hey, come on, we can't have any of that Muslim anti-free speech stuff going on here. You're an American, get a hold of yourself. It's like it's just become so much part of their psychosis. Everything that's wrong is the Muslims. Everything that's wrong in our world, in our country, is the Muslims. There are no other criminals. There are only criminals that are helping the Muslims. Heavy breathing emphasized. foaming all over the mouth.
Yeah, I think it's kind of obvious that the Muslims have been basically scapegoated. There is one paragraph, though, from Etienne de la Boétie's The Politics of Obedience, a Discourse of Servitude, I would like to read because I think it'll kind of illustrate how easy it is for these so-called world leaders to lose their support if only people stopped voluntarily, as you were getting at, stop voluntarily like worshiping them like they're celebrities. Now, do keep in mind the following quote. Boétie, in context, was talking about monarchy. However, I think it could be extrapolated to really any form of government, but, that's just me. All right, Boétie said, quote, "Obviously, there is no need of fighting to overcome this single tyrant, for he is automatically defeated if the country refuses consent to its own enslavement. It is not necessary to deprive him of anything, but simply to give him nothing. There is no need that the country make an effort to do anything for itself, provided it does nothing against itself. It is therefore the inhabitants themselves who permit, or rather, bring about their own subjection, since by ceasing to submit, they would put an end to their servitude. A people enslaves itself, cuts its own throat. When having a choice between being vassals and being freemen, it deserts its liberties and takes on the yoke, gives consent to its own misery, or rather, apparently welcomes it." Close quote. And I don't know about you, Alex, but that sounds a lot like what a lot of the Patriot movement has turned into. I'd say they're cutting their own throat when they're demonizing Muslims and otherwise scapegoating them. But I guess you could also say that about more broadly the people who support Vladimir Putin, Putin's libertarians, as it were, who, in my not so humble opinion, are just cowardly pseudo something else.
Well, the whole archetype of the angry, violent biker, which is really popular in our culture, it's also very popular in Russia. And so you have these Russian gangs, and some of them are far right leaning that are like Putin gangs. And you can see the RT promotional videos like, "Do, do, 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 I'm a Putin lover." And it's like some out of a like Judas Priest music video, like leather and very homoerotic on top of it. Um, I gotta say, but Russia is allegedly one of the countries where there are human rights violations against homosexuals and the LGBTB, if I even said that right, like, no lettuce, tomato, pickle, but the LGBT, anyway. Apparently, Russia's been a police state with regards to that. And so it also seems like Russia has its hands in more places than which we're even looking or discussing. So on one hand, you have the co-opting of the American Liberty Movement through some of the fake news websites and talking points, and who knows what else is going. We need to pursue this more and find out which are some of the most suspect websites that are also some of the most popular, because other people are looking into this as much as we are on their own level. So we've seen certain websites come and go, but I want to say also influencing the left. So you have like communist groups that are like, screw capitalism, tear it down, screw the system, damn you system, murdering all these black people. Of course, no Afghan or Iraqi lives matter. It's Palestinian, yeah, if it's politically correct at that moment to cry for Gaza, then they will.
How convenient.
Then they will hashtag for Gaza. They will hashtag for Tibet. Well, there wasn't really much hashtagging in the 90s, but when it was time for them to shed a tear for the country in the spotlight, it's hell, when it was time for them to shed a tear for Afghanistan, when Zbigniew Brzezinski went over there, they shed a tear. And they had a little bit of empathy, like, "Oh, you guys are against the Russians. Oh, yeah."
Yeah.
Now it's like, what civilians dead? Oh, we just started counting them a few years ago. we don't know what happened before that. Yeah, 8 years ago of a big black giant rape, where'd the flesh go, missing children. Just don't ask questions. Just don't ask questions. So, is there a strong white nationalist neo-Nazi connection between the co-opting alternative media and whatever's going on with Russia and parts of Europe? And I think that we're starting to see the answer is yes. Is this organic? Is this random? Probably not. Sure seems like a bunch of incidents are starting at the same time. Here I see Alex Jones and Donald Trump um, parroting each other, or Alex Jones repeating what Donald Trump said. Trump said, well, we have this attack here in Tennessee, Chattanooga, Tennessee, and we have this attack somewhere else. And then now they can say Nice, France. So, we have these manufactured events, and we're going to use these supposed actual real time events as a part of our talking points for why we really, 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 really need to start talking about deportation and banning all Muslims into the country until we figure out what's going on. Until we figure out what's going on. Again, we're in this schizophrenic conspiracy, fake news, trash world to where, well, on one hand, it's like the schizophrenic. On one hand, the CIA created ISIS. Ooh, oh my God. And that could be like, a video that gets someone 1 million views. And then over here, well, shouldn't we ban the immigrants?
Yeah, I
Until
mean,
we
how
figure
dumb.
out what's going on. I'm like, what
Yeah,
is this? This is new kind of psychology. This is deep. This is worth noting itself. The ability to believe two absurdities at once. Not to leave out Barack Obama with the coexist sticker next to the Obama sticker. That was schizophrenia in Portland
yeah.
in 2008. So everybody laughed at the liberals. We're laughing at the liberals now. Laughing at liberals. It's not just a Michael Strickland YouTube channel. Laughing at liberals. Now it's like laughing at Trump supporters and they're not getting the joke. They're like, "What? You don't want to make America great again? Well, you're with Hillary." And it's like sad that they're able to look in the mirror and go, "Oh my God, this is like the same thing on a different level,
As a
maybe even scarier."
as a side note about the Trump slogan, before we close out here, apparently there's a Wikipedia page that is "Make America Great Again," and I went and double checked just to make sure that Wikipedia wasn't getting this wrong, but apparently it seems to be true. Uh, Donald Trump essentially, arguably plagiarized, but at least I guess imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, I suppose, off of Ronald Reagan's, I think, 1980 presidential campaign, which was "Let's Make America Great Again." So Trump is like completely non-original. Heck, the Ron Paul presidential campaign slogans were different, like "Restore America Now," "Hope for America." There was at least something a tiny bit original, I guess. But Trump, originality, pshaw. And if this guy isn't willing to be creative enough or have his people be creative enough to not lift something from a previous presidential campaign, then honestly, how creative is this guy going to be when it comes to doing real work in the real world, especially as is the topic of this podcast, dealing with the other so-called world leaders and hopefully avoiding war, or as is probably more likely the case, causing wars.
Yeah, hey, China. You know what I mean? We're gonna renegotiate. I said in my RNC speech, renegotiate. We need a new deal for the American people. Get the fuck out of here. It's like it's all gonna come out. It's gonna be like, what is this? Some sort of a bad radio show gone wrong? Yes, it's gonna be a joke. And the American people are gonna be crying, going, "Oh my God, this is weird. Is this guy even human? Is he like a reptilian alien? Like, oh, that's gonna get popular again because the guy's gonna be acting out of the normal."
Actually, he
Out
reminds
of
me of
the normal. It's going to be acting in a very peculiar way, and they're bringing out the narrative, and you can bring up the point that you want, but they're bringing out the narrative. They're going to kill Donald Trump, and I'll tell you. So apparently, they found somebody, an ex-cop, at Trump Plaza very recently. Also news. Now, what caught my ear first was a friend saying, "Did you hear that they found a dead body in Trump Plaza?" So I type in "dead body Trump Plaza," and I see that, oh, lo and behold, Snoops, which is a fake news website, is pushing that headline. I said to my friend, "Oh man, me and Kyle are doing podcasts about this fake news stuff. Dude, this is fake news, what you just told me." So it happens that real where somebody be like, "I just heard there's a dead body at Trump Plaza." And it's like, no, here's the real headline, at least what's officially news. They found an ex-cop that may or may not have been armed. Secret Service did. It's going to amp up the whole, they're trying to kill Donald Trump. And Alex Jones is subtly playing up, though. They want to kill me. They want to kill me. And I think we can see a combination of the. I mean, and the way that he said they were after him in his in-game film was not convincing, nor really meant to be convincing.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know why Alex Jones, the character known as Alex Jones, is telegraphing that he's acting a fool. He's not making a mistake by doing that. He's doing that deliberately. It's one of those plain sight things, like, So I don't think anyone's really psychoanalyzed that. We could save that for another time and do some speculation. I think people should. They should ask themselves, why is this guy just coming out and being a fool, trying to cause riots, and then showing the audience that's obviously going to be there with 50 cameras. Why show up and do that in front of 50 cameras? Why show up and show yourself running out with like a troop of police officers, state police in Cleveland, Ohio, in the front behind you? Move, 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 move. Like some like scene from a movie, and have cameras everywhere. And then you run the car and you're like, oh my God, oh, the communists attacked us. When it's clear from your footage and everybody else's footage, the guy nudged you and you almost fall over, which could have resulted in a serious ass kicking had there not been three semi, and I say semi because not really, three semi-scary, bald-headed, white-looking dudes, but not very effective, obviously, yet. I don't know, escorting Alex Jones out of that mess themselves. No, they had 20 cops there. 20 cops there. People should look at the Alex Jones deception as a microcosm for what they could see with Trump, what they could see with Putin, just knowing how they can build a person up to a level and then just switch.
Yeah.
Just the fact that that is possible. They have people of influence in their hand. And I think it's actually very humbling to see a man like Alex Jones co-opted. Even though it's not official that we have all its evidence, we've seen major behavioral changes where the Vox Populi is with Kyle and I, that the man has changed 180. And there's a bunch of people waking up to this. What kind of thing could we see with Donald Trump of the same equivalent where it's like a 180? We're going to build a wall to keep the Americans in.
Yeah, really.
That's called coming full circle.
Well, before we close out here, I just would like to pose a question before the audience, which is namely this. How many other content producers, let's just say in an alternate timeline, how many other alternative media content producers, bloggers, podcasters, videographers, etc., how many other content producers could have gotten away with what the fat man did in Cleveland when he's stumbling around? Because, I don't know, man. I mean, Michael Strickland, love him or hate him, he is a content producer. And like we said in the previous podcast, he's facing felonies. So he got charged. He is suffering from lawfare. But AJ
bring them both up.
But AJ walked away clean, didn't he?
Some people are going to say that Michael Strickland's an agent or something. I don't know if they are. But, I mean, that was a genuine case of someone reacting the way that he did, going down to a protest to document it, who had a track record of being a videographer on YouTube, documenting protests and some of the things that are chanted by the crowd at some of the protests. He was a documentarian. And he was someone that obviously received a lot of views because major blogs and websites promoted his work. In the end, are these people even going to back him up? And the fact of the matter is, as we talked about in the last podcast, they're not. They're not going to back him up.
No, they're not. And so I would just, pause it before the audience. Look who's getting prosecuted, and look who gets to walk away, and make your decisions accordingly.
I just want to add one more thing. Kyle Strickland, he is a Trump supporter. Is Trump going to do something for him?
No, I don't think so.
Are some of these other blogs going to... Well, they may continue to post with regards to the story because it's of interest. Sorry, that's not enough. Because the way it can just be self-serving while post on someone else's story that's relevant to your niche. It's newsworthy. Sorry, that's not enough. People should do more to help their fellow man and woman, whether it's someone getting kicked off their land in Costilla County or someone facing 21 years or whatever. but actually try to do something behind the scenes and not just make it about, ooh, you're coming to the rescue, or it's your story. And with regards to Michael Strickland, I do believe that we have a guy here that was definitely pro-war on a level, that believes some of the stuff about the immigration, but most importantly, pro-cop.
Yeah.
And so when you have someone, and you have people that would consider themselves pro-cop, that are, because the cops serve the system. Well, it's the system that's persecuting Michael Strickland, the
Yep.
unfair system.
Yep.
So, the cops are tired of the system. It's connected. They're not going to be able to separate. The cops serve the system. The system makes the laws, however the laws are made. The cops go out and enforce it.
Yeah.
So people miss the point when people are being critical of cops. And I'm not someone that believes that all cops should be shot or anything like that. But certainly not someone that worships the cops blindly and go, who's going to save you when you need them? So now he's being persecuted by the system after being arrested by police. Here we have people that are worshiping people like Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump that actually represent their own oppression. And perhaps at some point in the future, it's going to come out. There's going to be a fair amount of enslaving. Boy, it's just hard watching humans go through this over and over and over and over again. But that's probably a subject for another time.
Yes, I agree.
All right, that's all for now. Kyle and me will be back with more updates on this. Well, it's a Trump-Putin bromance at first, but I think it's gonna shift after the potential Trump presidency of 2016. Thank you for listening.